All right.
Welcome to the show. You guys are here, and we have a very special guest. We have Miss Nicky in the house. Woo! Back on the show since February 23rd, 2021. Guys, 2 years. 2 years. If you guys don't know Nicky, or you want to know a little bit more about her insane story of who she is, how she came to be, you need to go check out her ebb and flow Epsom salts. Yeah. So you need to go back to part 1, part 2 on Reiki Nicky, and it's at 6 Cents Tells All. So make sure to check it out. Thanks for being here again.
Of course.
Thanks for fucking actually flying in all the way from Colombia. I can finally say it.
Yeah.
She flew all the way in to be for Raw Babes, guys.
Yeah,
That's the only reason why you came.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Long time. Thanks for having me back.
Obviously.
No, we're so honored to have you on the show. We have a very similar energy, no fucks given.
No.
Weirdness.
Yeah.
Super weird. And here we are, we're pulling cards right now for the collective and finding a theme within it. And we were just discussing it. Mm-hmm. And before we got any further in the discussion, we were like, oh, we have to press record because this is what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
lots of things.
Let's start with the theme right now. Let's do that. And then we can get rolling into the interview.
It's not even an interview. It's just a view.
We're just hanging out.
It's just a view. Okay, claim back all your energy to you now. This is a really important practice. We teach this with all of our clients, all of our classes, and teach you how to cut the cords, let go of anything that is not yours, and calling back everything that is yours. Because your energy is your energy, and if you're hanging on to somebody else's shit, you're actually robbing them from their experience. So, and then you're hanging on to their shit, which just doesn't belong to your body, so that can actually bring illness, injury, sickness, all the things. So we just kind of want to free yourselves, cut it out.
Yeah.
I love that.
The second card that came in was going against the grain. This is from the Sacred Rebels, because we're fucking rebels. And this is about talking to the black sheeps in the room, embracing your weirdness, going against the grain. Mm-hmm. And with that, the fun thing about this one and what we all have in common is that we are very creative. So when you step in that creative mind and you go into the things that, and like that childlike energy, that's actually when you really cultivate this beautiful community and like-minded individuals. So you might find a little bit of a shift if you can just get out of your head and stop worrying about what other people think, mm-hmm. and just start experiencing life, because there's no way you've experienced more than you need. Like it'll never fucking happen.
We're never ends.
Students.
Yeah, it never ends.
Never ends.
Just when you think one thing I'm like, oh, I have totally sailed this ship. I've got it all in the bag, and then the fucking bag just drops.
The bag breaks.
Yeah, it just
breaks.
Yeah.
Totally.
All the things inside.
All the things. So then you're pulling from the Light Seers Tarot. So we had a couple reverse cards come in, and
Nicky, take it away.
Knight of Pentacles in reverse and the High Priestess in reverse. And it was just interesting because, I've never used this deck before, and it's beautiful, but I think earlier we were talking about kind of like themes, and it just really ties into what Tiffany is saying as well, and Kristen too. And it's just, I've been noticing in the collective, there's this sense of like, we just focus so much on like the immediate, and we're also trying so hard to kind of apply the same things as we used to things nowadays, whether it's habits, the way we speak, the way we think, the way we express ourselves, the way we present ourselves, the way we connect with one another, even ourselves as well. Mm-hmm. And it's like we're so focused on the right now, and like almost like in a way like the material, rather than kind of like the long term. But I think also just like this heightened of emotions, which I think really goes hand in hand with like the claim all your energy back to you now, because it's like this external influence. It's like, oh, what are your friends doing? What's your family doing? What's society doing right now? And really, I think something to keep in mind is like to zoom out, especially when you're very emotional, and fair enough, especially what's going on in the world and things. But zooming out and what it is when it comes to especially like goals, like what goals you have, what are you trying to accomplish? 'Cause I think right now everyone just has goals, but you don't really know how to maybe make it happen the way you want. And
Wait, what did you say about goals earlier? How did
goals
you say that?
are dreams with limits.
Yeah.
So if you like, right? I had a download. And you will, when you zoom out, you'll find the substance and more of what you believe than what you believe it should be or how it can be. It's really just about, if you're so focused on like what's going on in the immediate, you're not going to see all the things.
The bigger picture.
The bigger picture. And I think a lot right now to get to that point is really also to like surrender to ourselves with that too, and our own minds and how we're feeling about things. Because realistically, astrologically speaking, mathematically speaking as well, nothing is going to be the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us are just like kind of shedding or trying to shed, but also trying to grasp our logical, human, analytical minds around what's going on right now and almost trying to foresee and predict in the way that we're used to. Mm-hmm. That's just not.
And that's why we should be stepping into that childlike energy.
Yes.
Recreation.
Yes, recreation. That's what, like, I feel like a lot of people are like, what's my purpose? What am I here to do? And that's a whole other kind of conversation. But really, it's like, we're here to create.
Yeah.
Create new ways of thinking, of being, speaking, create new habits, new routines. Like, it's a time right now too that I feel like a lot of people are being challenged with what it is that they like and don't like, and what interests them and what doesn't. And I think when we start to question the things that once did make us feel that way or make us feel good, and how it's not working now, it almost gives us this. It's like triggering because it's like, who am I?
Exactly.
And then we're like trying again to wrap our logical and analytical brains around it. But what's actually happening right now is a very opposite from logical and analytical. It's actually very intuitive.
That's right.
So the thing about the High Priestess in reverse is like not trusting your own intuition, I guess, or like not trusting the journey. And I think the word intuition is also kind of a word that can be very washed out nowadays, but it's in the sense of like that inner knowing. And so when the High Priestess is in right side up, it's like us being very in tune, very confident in where we're at or where we're going, whereas tuning into this energy that's like very uncertain, or when we're just basically don't go against the grain, I guess, and we're just following everyone else, it doesn't sit well with us and we lose ourselves in that process. Yeah. So really it's like, if you feel like there's something going on and a transformation in some capacity, that's probably what's happening.
Yes.
And so just let it happen, because just like a little tidbit here, it's in a lot of ways for a lot of people, it's fated. So it's not something you have a choice in right now. It's kind of like, you're just in it, and and I tell a lot of my clients, especially this week, it's like, take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Because if you know it's going to happen anyways,
that's not fun.
No.
Where's the fun and journey in that?
And
No.
And you're just going to cause more. Yeah. And it's like,
you gotta fucking float upstream. Go with the current, the ocean, the wave. Go with it.
This is interesting because we often talk about how important it is to be in the present and in the now. But because people aren't trusting their intuition, they're going down the rabbit hole a little bit of what's not working, and like that worry of like self-discovery. And I think that's what seems to be the theme right now, right? Yes. Everybody's just kind of like wallowing in the wind and just like, why? And how am I'm not sure if this is right for me or if this is right.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So here, this is my advice to people. Two things. For one, I think it's really important, like, because if we're so emotionally charged because of this, if we could just treat life like business and set the emotion aside and just think logically, what would you tell somebody to do? I would personally tell people what to do is to go into that solitude space and do the creative things, like go for a swim, go for a walk in nature, do some painting, collect some fucking rocks. I don't know. Yeah, like I think a lot of the peace within yourself comes in through that creative side of the pathway. Pathway to
totally.
faith. But again, you know, if you're too much, if you're living in the moment and it's not rising you up, you are down the rabbit hole and you got some stuck energy and zoom out like you said. Yeah.
Also for you guys that have just tuned in and maybe don't know much about Nikki is an international psychic medium. She is also a certified energy master, practitioner, and teacher. So when she's reading cards, it's not just like reading cards. It's like tapping into all
the downloads.
Yeah. To all of the different energies. So you guys are getting the real thing. And tonight we have our circle, which it will be long done. It was amazing. Thanks for coming, everybody. It was just next level. So she came all the way in from Colombia. But let's talk a little bit about you. Where are you? What are you up to? What the hell? Because, last that everybody would have known is you're a Vancouverite.
Yeah, so lots of things have changed in the last couple of years. I think like a majority of 2021 and 2022 was expanding into different types of clientele. I definitely, like, it's so interesting because Tiffany reminded me of me doing this one thing when I first started, and I just completely forgot that I had done any of those things. And I feel like in the last 3 years, it's just like this constant transformation, I guess, for me. Like my clientele definitely shifted into not like, I don't think serious is the right word, but more just like a more sensitive, confidential type of clientele, or a higher pressure type of group, I guess.
Like a niche. We went into like this niche of like expertise of being able to just tap the fuck in.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think, you know, it's like, it's great to see people in my city and like kind of where I came from in a certain capacity, but I started to kind of somehow branch off into having clients in different countries and stuff, and even having them like fly in to come see me, and like from all different kinds of backgrounds. I think that's kind of the main thing too, from like bankers to like politicians to like public figureheads,
so
to
people
like,
who have responsibility to people around them.
I guess so, yeah. Like doctors and like athletes, and it's just people that I've had to kind of sign legal NDAs for.
What's an NDA?
A non-disclosure agreement.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm approached by these people, I'm approached by their management, and I'm either getting booked to go see them, or they're coming down to see me, but in an undisclosed area. And basically everything we talk about, we have to kind of just, I just can't talk about it kind of thing. But of course that's like already part of my work in everything being confidential, and also me not remembering anything that goes on anyways in sessions. But it definitely kind of like shifted me from one kind of clientele that I was very, I guess, like familiar with, or got really familiar with, into people that had other kinds of like problems and issues that I wasn't very familiar with on a personal level, to a certain degree, or were a little more complicated in terms of what they needed. So a lot of that had to do with like, you know, anything to do with like crime, or like legality, or like finance, or like business in a deeper way. I had to really open my practice up into more when it comes to like learning. So in the last couple of years, I've learned a lot about like math in terms of how to predict things and how the world works. So a lot of that can also just be translated as like astrology. So there's definitely like Western astrology, or like Vedic, or, you know, Chinese astrology. So I definitely got a little bit into those things, but more in my roots of like the Chinese astrology. And then utilizing kind of everything in those times. And then my work just kind of brought me out of Canada in a lot of ways. And then, basically just kind of decided to take a trip one day to Colombia to see a couple clients down there. And then I just got thrown into this whole new world of like living in certain situations, and like just it really blowing my world apart and my eyes open in different ways. And So I did like retreats down there. I did private events for people down there. People would kind of fly in because also Colombia is very close to like Miami and like that part of the United States, for example. So it's really easy for people to come in and out. So I was doing all types of things out there, and then I just decided just to like move there. I decided to move there because a lot of my work was just kind of, you know, I was doing virtual sessions. I didn't really have to see anyone. If people wanted to see me, they were just flying out to see me if they needed to, that kind of thing. Yeah.
The freedom.
Yeah, and you had a big transition. So it was like Vancouver, Nikki would do like an hour and a half sessions. You would see her, you would do readings, you'd get your messages, Reiki, energy, guided meditation, all of that. And then it was like all of a sudden you morphed and transformed into international virtual readings. And so it was a completely different practice.
Yeah. Crazy
Just
different.
went from 0 to 100.
Yeah. In a way that I just, now looking back, I'm like, that was crazy. But and then I was like, oh yeah.
When you're in it, you're just in it.
This is so cool because a lot of people are afraid to like take that next step because it would look so different.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people kind of can hold that themselves to that, where you're just kind of afraid to see what's in the uncharted area, where like your story is probably quite relatable in that sense, to just trust.
Yeah.
And leap forward and just know that. Because, like, quite often, when we talked about this, too, is, like, people are in this, like, I don't know what to do. Like, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? Well, of course. I mean, come in with these situations. How is your discernment how is it benefiting you? Are you close to your intuition? Are you connected to these feelings that are coming over your body? Like, is it coming with ease, or is there a lot of, like, pushback and resistance?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, totally. And I think a huge one is like, I think that what you said, like making, is this the right decision? If that's the right decision, when really like nothing is the right or wrong decision.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that definitely with my practice, like I've had totally days where I'm like, what am I doing? Or like, is this the right thing? Or like, you know, really questioning my own stuff. And like, I've burnt out many, many times in my practice. It's just something that I'm still trying to work on right now.
Yeah.
But, you know, in those burnouts, like, I'm like, oh, like, you know, what should I go back to the basics of stuff? Like, well, whatever. Anything that I've thought about up until this point, I'm like, I wouldn't have traded it for a different experience. Like, okay, yeah, maybe I could have done this differently or tweaked this, or maybe if I did this, I wouldn't be in this situation that I maybe not so much like, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like, it's all
part of the plan.
Part of it. So I think also people get really scared about like like being defined in the decision that you make.
Right.
Okay.
Like it's so definitive, it's so like concrete, when really if you just take a step back from that, it's not. Like nothing is definite. Like nothing is exactly concrete, really. You have a choice. And if things don't work out well for you because you tried that thing, then just switch and pivot. You literally switch and pivot every time, like all the time in your life in a normal day. Like if you're driving and you need to change lanes, you switch and pivot. Like, you know, it's such a
comes in front of you. You fucking switch and
pivot. Yeah. Like, so what's the difference? And it's just because we create this like thing in our heads, or like, you know, we're used to a pattern or something in the past. But again, if you just zoom out and you think about it, like, if it doesn't work out for me, what can I do? And I think that was a lot of what I was going through, because for me, my practice definitely started a lot with like the energy healing and like giving people the full experience. And then I've definitely cut back and I focus a lot more on readings, because that's where my clientele was moving. So even though I wanted to do the energy thing, people weren't looking for me for that anymore. They were looking for me and demanding readings from me. Not demanding, but you know, they're asking for that. That's what people are interested in. So am I supposed to, in that moment, I have to make a decision. Do I just try to just like step back on the energy thing because it was burning me out and doing all the things at the same time? Or do I ignore that and then keep trying to just like do the same things that I was used to? So in that moment, I had to make the decision. I was just like, hey, I'm just going to switch my practice to this more and see how this goes.
Yeah. Because you can always come back.
Because I can always come back.
It's not going anywhere.
Exactly. And that's the same thing
You're
about
evolving.
and that's the same thing about like me moving to Colombia. Like Colombia, first of all, very underrated.
Yes.
Everyone, it's kind of one of those things that you hear about it or like, you know, that kind of thing. But it's one of those things that you have to, places that you have to experience. And when you experience it, then you can understand better as to like what maybe the hype is or what people like about it. And for me, that's a big move. Like it's a 15 to 18 hour flight. Like it's far from here.
Okay.
Right. And for me, and I'm not all about connecting flights at all. I'd rather just fly direct, right? But it's just no matter what, you have to have a connecting flight. So it's a whole thing. Yeah. But for me, I'm like, okay, well, worst comes to worst. If it doesn't work out there for any reason, I'll just come back to Vancouver.
Exactly.
Yes. Like, what am I so afraid of, really, in that? Yeah. Because what I do know, at the time especially, was that I didn't want to live in Vancouver anymore. Like, everything that I feel like I could have done, I did. I exhausted it in so many ways. Like, I've lived here my entire life. I've done, I haven't done everything, but everything that you could potentially do. Yeah. Normally I've done it. I've gone to all the stores, I've gone to the natures, I've done the mini trips, I've done the getaways, like there's nothing else here, you know? And so what do I do? Like continue to just like try and find something new. It's like when you go to the fridge and you open it, and every time you open it, you expect that there's something else there. And I've done that. I did that like so many times when it came to Vancouver that I'm like, you know, I go to so many dinners or like these meetings or I go to like these events and whatever. It's every single thing's the same. It's the same thing. It's not like one's more fun than the other. It's nothing's more exhilarating than the other. So
you did your time here.
Yeah.
But this is actually a great analogy. It's like relationships. Mm-hmm. How many you've exhausted every avenue. And we talked about this even in our past reading. Yeah. It was like in relationship, I had learned everything I needed to learn. Yeah. It's like, okay, thank you so much. I learned, I got it. Yeah. And now it's time to move on. Yeah. And it's like, if you keep opening the fridge expecting something to be different, it's such a good analogy. Same thing with relationships.
Yeah. Wow. Because also I feel like I'm pretty stubborn. Like I'll be the first to admit it. Like I will learn the hard way, and I still learn the hard way till this day. And it's like I just keep opening the fridge until my face basically turned blue. Like my arms are purple at this point. Like there was nothing that's going to be different up in there. Yeah. Right? And it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's scary to think about picking up your whole entire life and moving. And that's something that I did, which was very, very...
was it as scary as it was?
No. It's never as scary as you think it's going to be.
Your mind just rocked it.
Yeah. Like, I was like, I thought I was dying. You know, like, so think about, for me, it was like, I spent, and if you listen to the first and the second episode, you will know better. But for me, my entire life was about trying to build security and safety for myself, whether that be my home. Well, mainly it was my home and like finances and like, you know, that's a very common thing. And it was a very, very important thing for me. And it was finally like, I was able to get my own place. I was able to like buy my own furniture, have my own things, like completely be more than self-sufficient and comfortable
and
thrive in all of that. And then basically being like, I'm just gonna
now that we've accomplished that,
I'm just gonna leave now to a country that like I don't know what's going on over there, and like I'm just gonna like take that jump and give up my beautiful penthouse apartment,
all your comforts.
Like literally I moved into that place thinking I was like, okay, this is like my thing, my it, right? And then literally within 5 months I was like, I fucking hate all of this. Like I don't care for any of these things. Like I'm in the sky, and then what? Like, you know, and then I just have to go the same shit all the time anyways. And so then I just kind of had to like go through all of that. And I gave away a lot of my stuff. And I sold a lot of my stuff. And that was a crazy unpacking, peeling, raw skin
How did that feel?
moment. It was very hard. Like, Kristen was like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I'm like, I'm not going to be fine. Like, I don't feel fine. Like, these are my things. You
might not be fine in the moment, but you will be fine.
Yes. But I was so caught up in that like emotion and like that immediate that I couldn't get out of. And that's, it happens to the best of us. I'm telling you, it happens to the best of us. I was literally like, oh my God, I'm just gonna like and now I moved my entire life into 7 storage topens.
That's
like,
it.
That's it. I don't have anything else. Like, I went
Wow.
from all of the things to the very, I mean, I could maybe get rid of more stuff, but just
7
totes. And that's
Good for
it,
you.
right? And it's like, and I had like this, my very dear friend told me, he's like, you know, because I've been away in Colombia for about 5 months now, and my apartment and all my things have just kind of been like there. So my friend was like, I was basically saying like, I'm nervous about having to come back and like deal with all of that and get rid of everything and like think about all my things, because in Colombia, like, I don't care about a lot of things that I care about when I'm in Vancouver. Like, when I'm in Vancouver, I'm like, what do I look like? How do I dress today? Like, what should I wear today? Are my lashes done? Are my nails done? Like, all these things, it's always just like in the back of my mind. When I'm in Colombia, like, I don't care less about any of these things. And I don't know what it is. I mean, we can talk, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But it's kind of like this spell, I guess, that just kind of happens some way, somehow. And so I was telling my friend this, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm just feeling really nervous about this and getting rid of all my stuff and that kind of thing. And he was just saying to me, he's like, I also want you to kind of like take into consideration that you've already moved out of Vancouver. You've already given up all of your stuff because you've been living in Colombia for 5 months. Like,
Truth.
But what I was doing was getting stuck in the past of what I thought was right. Even though I was literally living in a whole different ass fucking reality. Right? But then the thought of it was like, okay, I go back to Vancouver. I gotta deal with all this shit. And that was like sending me into all this past stuff. And like, oh my God, I'm gonna go back to my place. I miss my place, but I fucking hate my place because I want to be there. And then my friend also said to me, he's like, because I'm like, I have so much stuff and I miss my stuff. But he's like, hey, but you didn't miss it for 5 months. Like, you didn't care for it. He's like, what it is, it's these ego tentacles. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what it is. Bingo. Ego tentacles? Like, those 2 words, so funny to me. Good. So funny to me, but I was like, that's so true. It's like these, like, it's like, you need me. Yeah. Like, you need all the nice things you have. And, like, you need blah, blah, blah. When really, like, I used to just rant about how stupid all those things were and like I don't care about those things. Like when I was in Colombia, I was like talking so much shit about like all the things I had and how stupid people
just superficial
like are so focused on that and like
the distraction.
And the distraction of everything, right? Anyway, so I was just like had to deal with that, but the thing is I wasn't able to just deal with it in one go. It was like every day, you know, every day. Like I got back and the next 5-6 days were all days where I had to get out of my house. So I had to like start to pack everything, give things away. And it was like each day there was like a new chapter of like shedding. Yeah. It was like one day it was like all my fucking couch and my dresser and my side table was going. Next day it was like stuff to Sally Ann, stuff to fucking the garbage, stuff, you know, all these kind of things. Cards and crystals, all my studio stuff. Like I've built not only a comfort in my home and my lifestyle, but I literally built it into my studio too, and having to literally just shed all of that.
That's fast and furious.
And yeah, like I had to get out by May 1st because your girl was not going to pay $3,000 more for rent.
No.
Right?
Can I talk about real quick and just tap into this because this is a really good example from like reality versus not reality. Like we have like we're all individuals and we all have this like perception of things and like this is my idea of the way things are, but that's not actually the reality. It's the reality that we made up in our brain.
Truth, right?
Okay,
versus reality.
Yeah, and then we have tied emotions attached to these things. Yeah. Now you've created reality around that, and that's not even fucking true.
Oh, yes.
Right?
My goodness, yes.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, all of these things at one point in my life were a testament to the success that I have.
Yeah. But now it's like that's how you identified yourself, but you've already recreated the new you, and then it's like revisiting. It's like the childlike trauma.
Yeah.
It's like going back to your child, letting that like little girl know that you don't need her to protect you anymore.
The adults here.
Yeah, I'm a grown ass woman. I know what I fucking need.
Yes.
And
it wasn't in these things. And the cool lesson for everybody is there's so much more that you can obtain, and then you get to another level after you've reached these things that you thought would fulfill you or that you needed. Like you experience, it's like there was no value in these things.
Well, it's almost like you reached your goals, and then it was like time to. And this is another thing here. When we stay comfortable, that is actually really bad for our health.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
it's actually like you're kind of going backwards a little bit if you stay comfort.
Yeah.
So if we can't stay into that childlike energy and like rediscover and like learn more things.
Yes.
Because who you were 10 years ago, could you say that you're the same person? No. Fuck no. That's even like 6 months ago, you're not even the same person. So I think it's amazing. I think it's a great lesson, not only for you, but those that you've influenced around you. Because they're like, well, fuck, if she can do it, I can fucking do it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we so worried about what people think?
Yeah.
No, we're too invested in what people think, and that's a whole nother reality. That's just kibosh that shit.
That's old earth, baby. Old earth.
Oh fuck! If we step on our authentic self, that's where the creation happens, and boom, you've created a whole new reality, and now you're fucking sky's the limit.
No, there is no limit.
That's right. I was like, what?
You're like,
and I think that's like the influence, like we were talking about earlier, about the external, and there's all this like narrative too. So I think like, especially tapping into what's going on right now with everyone and whoever's listening to this, it's like just start challenging these thoughts, because we're evolutionary beings. We're literally not supposed to just stay the same. Like we're supposed to always do new things, but it's just like, I don't know, society or programming or culture or a family or wounds or whatever. Like that's fine, but you now have a responsibility to change the things that don't work for you, rather than just being like, well, fucking, I just grew up this way. Like, okay, and like, and so are we all supposed to just like just morph to how you want to be, and then you're gonna get mad at me for that? Like, or
we have zero responsibility on how we make anybody feel. Sorry.
That too.
Boom. No. If you stay in your own truth, using your own discernment, lean into the things that you're more pulled to and called to. Totally. And that's going back to like, am I doing this? Is this right or is this right? Yeah. Well, that's part of the journey. It's like, it's part of the story.
And sometimes part of the path is coming off of the path to then fucking find your way back onto the path.
That's right.
Yes. And that's I like how you said you like to learn things the hard way.
I mean, I don't like it.
No. But for some reason you do. Because then that gives you another gift to then share with people. This was an analogy that Stevie had said. It was like, I'm going to take people in a car, and you can go through the fire, the desert, all of this, or we can build a bridge, jump in the car, and just drive over it all. So it's really, you're going to be able to give people the tools, say, hey, you can go this way through the trenches and the fucking shark bite, or I can offer you this bridge that you can go over. And then the choice is fucking yours.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I love that you use that analogy, because it's a perfect visual to a lot of how I feel like I can do readings sometimes, where it's like there's one path and another path.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, the one path, it's just not good. Like, it's just evident that it's not good. Like, I mean, you feel it, because if you didn't feel it, why would you be here? Like trying to get advice or whatever, right? Totally. But it's like and on the other hand, it's like, okay, this is better, but it'll take some work. So it's like gonna feel maybe a little shitty in the beginning, but it's gonna be for something. But for some fucking reason, we get so caught up in the, okay, but how much work are we gonna do? Okay, but do you want to just like take this other route and then just like burn, like what you're saying, like the whole way through, and then by the end of it you're still burning?
Yes.
But then a lot of us are used to that too.
That's right.
Again,
That's right.
what you're used to is going to come into your life in fucking these shadow ways and all
Yes.
these things, and this is a
Yes.
time where we have to challenge everything.
It's not about
And
knowing the how. We
and
don't worry about the how.
No, and
Yeah,
I
do
will
it.
say
Yes.
firsthand with myself even, I've had many options and paths, and I just haven't taken the one that's just a nice bridge jump over to the other side. I've taken, the burning fire with some coals. Hey, maybe even getting stones thrown at me while I'm going and walking over the coals. But hey,
Yeah.
I'm getting fucking life experience
Yeah.
as I'm going along.
This is I actually go by this this analogy too, or not analogy, the fact when Metallica stopped doing like the fucking thrasher screaming, and then they kind of changed because they're in a new path, they're in a new body, basically they're now sober, and so they're kind of going, okay, I want to feel this more, so they went into more of like a modalic, songwriting, and they lost a lot of audience. People were calling, oh my god, people called them sellouts. They fucking ditched their music. They just were like, fuck that, fuck Metallica. But what happened is that Metallica grabbed onto a whole new audience.
Their tribe.
Their actual tribe. So why not step into the new? Who knows? Yeah, we don't know what's on the other side, but that's more your calling. That's where your more authentic self would be happier, and then bringing in a whole new influence.
Cool.
Like you just kind of.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was like, it happens a lot. I mean, but we don't always talk about it in this analogy, because this analogy is what the game changer is. This is where people are really stuck in because they're so worried about taking that leap. And these are the stories that we need to tell, because we need to share this fucking knowledge and know that it is possible. And don't worry about it. Kaylor Betts just talked about this in his thing when he finally stepped in his truth and talking about all against the things against the grain. He lost so many people and so many people in his audience, but he gained so much more.
That's right.
It's huge.
Big time.
Being a whole new set of eyes.
And it's like bridging that gap from who you think you were versus who you really are. And then it's letting that version die. It's another death, and it's fucking painful.
Transformation sucks. Like that rebirth.
Oh god.
And being born is painful.
Oh, it's like clinging
on. That's why they cry.
You're clinging on to the crumbling that's all down. It's all done. It's down on the ground. There's nothing else you can do. Want to go back to Colombia for a second. Do you want to share with our beautiful, amazing peeps a little insight on Colombia, and let's talk about a little bit of the food. Like, this is insane. What happened to you and your body?
So this is another huge reason why it made me make the move as well. The jump. So obviously living in Vancouver my entire life, I just eat all the things here. But as I was growing up, I had a lot of allergies, and I think my allergies just got worse as I grew up. I used to actually have to take allergy shots like twice a week so they do like that test where they put like dots on you and then they prick you. So there's one that's like for food, and then one that's for like animals and like pollen and whatever. So I did the whole shebang when I was like 16 or 17. And they were like, yeah, you're basically allergic to everything. Like, I'm allergic to all tree fruits. Just like everything.
What?
Tree fruits.
Your body's like, bitch, you're not supposed to be here.
That's when it's just like, I'm allergic to all tree fruits, which is like everything. I'm allergic to, like anything that comes off a tree in terms of like seasonally. You know how some people have seasonal allergies? I have like year-round allergies because no matter what it is, a tree is releasing something at some point.
Yeah.
But it's like tree.
This is like cashews, dude.
Yeah, like I was like, it was so bad. And like, so I grew up, I didn't even take those shots, but it was just the fact that I had this whole like thing, diagnosis, this and that, whatever. And then as I got older, I got really allergic to beef. Mm-hmm. So that was a whole other thing because I went through crazy health problems with that. Crazy autoimmune stuff with that as well. And like no one could tell me that it was what I was eating or anything like that. So I had to go through my own kind of healing and challenging and my own research and testing and whatever. Again, learning the hard way, very, very hard way. So I learned that I couldn't eat beef and I couldn't take anything dairy related from a cow, basically. So no cheese, friggin'
Or goat.
Nothing. I just like couldn't have any of it. Like even coconut milk, which doesn't even come from an animal. Like I couldn't stomach it.
There's so much bad shit.
There's just like shit and stuff. Like I don't even know what the fuck's going on. But I was like I couldn't eat a lot of things. So I could only eat really like moving like fast forward obviously to like more recent. I could only really eat like fish, not tuna. I couldn't eat tuna. I could only eat like salmon basically. And then
East is east. That's it.
Like vegetarian and like and then very like specific organic chicken, but that was like very hard to find and like whatever. So I used to weigh very little, and I think a lot of people, like very common thing people would say to me is like, you're so skinny, which I never like. It started getting like weird to me because I was like, oh my god, like everyone talks about how skinny I am and like it's just strange and whatever. So anyways, I would, when in terms of reactions, it's the foods that I'm saying that I can't eat, what would happen is I would get different variations of like hives, or like I would get sores around my mouth or in my mouth.
Shit.
I would have like sores at the top of my mouth or into my throat. I would get really, really bad stomach pains and then feel like lethargic and feel like super moody and like feel like just super shitty, and I couldn't like really do much for like days. So if I ate like beef, for example, that would happen to me. I never had acne in my entire life, ever, thankfully. But whenever I'd eat those things, I'd fucking break out, like cystic acne. I could never get rid of it. Like my skin was so bad. Like I look at pictures now and I'm like, it's not like terrible, but for me it was really bad because I was not used to that. And then I basically just like obviously went to Colombia and I was eating everything there. Like everything. Like everything. Just because I'm not typically I'm not a picky eater anyways. I just couldn't eat a lot of stuff because my body wouldn't react well to it. But I ate everything. And
you didn't have any issues?
No, like I was telling them earlier how I drank milk for the first time in like years in Colombia, and it was like drinking water. Like it was fine. Like it was just normal, because there they do a lot of like juices with milk. So like sometimes you just have no take that option, whatever. Not a problem. Not a rumble in my stomach. Like
or acne.
Or a breakout. Oh my god, my
so
skin
beautiful.
Was the nicest it's ever been in my entire life. And let me tell you, I spent so much money and resources on like fucking laser treatments, skincare, peels, like all the nicest shit, medical grade. I had it. Trust me, I fucking had it. I had it all. Yeah. And I just did all these like crazy treatments, like these $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 treatments, and they just like burned my freaking skin off. All these things to get the acne out of my face. Nothing would work. I went to Colombia and I stopped using everything. I would just like wash my face or whatever. Yes. But I was my skincare system that was like 10 steps and took me 30 fucking minutes every time.
You're like to one.
Went to like one, maybe, and like maybe two on like a certain day. But my skin was like glowing. My skin didn't even know what a blackhead was. It was like, what is that? Yeah. Like I didn't have acne. Wow. I had nothing, and I wasn't using anything, and my hair was growing lots. Like my lashes were growing beautifully. Like I healed my entire gut. Wow. And like my entire life. Yeah. Being in Colombia, and I think learning what I learned there. Also, they don't keep milk and eggs in the fridge. Like that's not a thing. They look at you weird if you're like, why don't you put? They're like, why?
It's not supposed to go in a fridge, you guys. It's not, because the only reason why is with all the chemicals and the crap and
antibiotics. Yeah, like all these things. So when I was there, like, in the last 5 months, I've built a beautiful community there, and I have some friends there and all these things. And one of my good friends is like a chef, and so I had this conversation with him because I'm like, because he made me pizza. He's like an amazing pizza chef, but he made me pizza, and like I get scared to eat pizza because when I eat pizza here, I fucking can't. Like I'll eat one piece. I get so bloated,
Oh,
so
the sodium
sick.
is like
Like
100.
I don't even know what's going on.
Gluten, all the things.
All the things. It was so insane to me. But like he was like, no, just like don't worry, like you're gonna be fine. And he actually broke down like a science to me of like what happens in terms of like at least pizza dough. And so like the process of it, I can't repeat the process, I can't remember it, but essentially he's kind of in a way where things are done in a way where you can eat a lot of it and not feel like shit, because a lot of also what the ingredients that we have here are untouched. Like if you do eat meat, your meat is walking like
just down
the road, like doing its thing. Like
they don't need to do anything.
They don't do anything to it
because there's a lot of processing that happens after the meat's been cut.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, they don't do none of that.
They inject it.
I know.
GMO, what they make the cow eat, buddy.
Oh my God.
Even after the cut.
Yes.
Even after the fucking animal has been butchered and you got steak pieces, that will go down a belt and stab, spray, and then eventually it gets packaged up into plastic.
And even before that, though, think of the trauma that the animal is going through because of the
for sure.
environment it's living in.
Oh God,
they're not free.
No,
their meat is just brutal because they're in fight or flight, and we're all eating their emotions.
Yeah. And
it's true.
Yeah.
I just like.
And then even without like the meat stuff though, like the produce, like the produce is literally just grown just naturally. Because why? Because Colombia doesn't necessarily can't afford all the like crazy fucking chemicals that we have in North America. Like they do the bare minimum, and then I would still tell you to wash your fruits and veggies and whatever, but it's just different. Like sometimes I eat certain veggies here and I'm like, no. Over there I'm like, meh, whatever, it's all good. Like,
do they do a lot of import like we do? No, everything's grown and eaten there. Wow, okay.
Yeah, like
because like we get a lot of stuff from like U.S. and Mexico, right?
Oh yeah, so like in Colombia they have like farms where they do farm stuff, but all of that goes to North America.
Oh, okay.
Because they're putting probably stuff in that because those are U.S. or Canadian funded companies, right?
Yeah, so they store them a certain way. They
Yes.
have to do certain things to them.
Exactly.
Our legislations, even in Canada, is kind of fucked up, and then the U.S. is way worse.
Oh, they're off the fucking charts. Like the fucking food dyes and shit. Like that's
so actually, Gary, he is incredible for all this sort of like health stuff. And he was explaining it's better off not to eat non-organic fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Because the amount of pesticides that you're eating, and he's like, people are juicing that, and they can take that juice that they've just juiced and re-sprinkle it on all of the fucking farms, and that has enough pesticides in it to then protect the fruits.
Ew.
So that is what people are eating. He just did this big podcast. Brecca, the guy the guy who has helped people live longer.
Right.
Dana White and all these amazing people.
Right.
He's opening up all these incredible
just things that the government sweep under the carpet.
Yeah, he's
don't
just
want us
opened
to
it all
know,
up
so
and
we
he's-
can be dependent on pharmaceuticals, and that's just what it's come down to. And our beauty industry, unfortunately, capitalizes on that.
Yeah.
I was in the beauty industry for years, and I don't buy into the product anymore. Like I used to have a half-hour routine.
Mm-hmm.
I used to incorporate all these things, and I'm watching my daughter, and she's like bought into this. These processes. But if you go back to food and essential oils, our skin fucking loves it. Put some banana on there and some oatmeal and some honey and see what happens. You'd be really surprised.
Yeah.
God, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I mean, I've been seeing a lot lately too about like how, because for the longest time, especially when my practice was predominantly in North America and especially in Vancouver and Canada, there was a lot of inflammation that people dealt with in their gut. Like, I mean, your gut's literally like debatably your first or second brain. Debatable.
Yeah.
First or second, debatable, whatever you want to call it, right?
You got it.
But it has a high position in the rankings of what's going on here. Yeah. So, so for a long time, and for me, I battled severely with autoimmune my entire life. And I have a lot of clients who also deal with some kind of version of autoimmune. And really at the end of the day, regardless if it's psoriasis, eczema, I had something called uveitis or whatever, or arthritis, even any itis, right? It's like it all comes down to one thing generally, and it has to do with diet and stress.
Yes.
But also, those two things are not that separate because they're pretty well one and the same.
Yeah.
So for a long time, like I was saying to people, like, you know, you shouldn't eat beef and you shouldn't eat dairy and these things because it was flaring them up. Like I'd be like, how do you feel when you eat it? They're like, I like it, but like I get stomach aches. I'm like, hey, well, why do you eat it then? Right? And they're like, well, it's so good. I'm like, okay. So anyways, the point is you have a reaction to it, but you continue to perpetuate yourself in eating those things, so maybe just stop eating them. Now, what I have heard a lot since all of that is that, yes, like, those things are not bad for you. Like, a lot of people even eat, like, raw meats and stuff like that, which I just personally would not.
You can technically eat beef raw.
Yes.
Like the ground beef.
Yes, right? So, like, and people eat, like, other kinds of meats raw, too, but it's, like, there's a whole thing about, like, beef. There's a whole thing about eggs. There's a whole thing about dairy. Okay, honestly, it's fucking gross if you think about it in a certain capacity. But also, I think it's interesting because I ate those things not being in North America. Not, like, all the time, but I did eat those things and I had no reactions. So I think the premise or the saying of, like, it's not bad for you, I don't think it's actually bad for you if your body is fine with it.
If you don't have inflammation
already, and if you're eating it basically like not in a place where they're putting all this extra shit in it.
Exactly.
Because if, like, I know people who like hunt, also debatable subject to talk about, but I know people who hunt and they do it because they are aware that all these stores pump their shit with crazy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But they're like, you know, they eat all of that and it works well for them.
Yeah.
Like my friend that I'm talking about in Colombia, like my chef friend, he's like, yeah, like he healed his gut by eating a meat diet. So, like, I'm not here to be like, that's wrong or like whatever, but it's more for me to be like challenging, like, okay, why is that? Like, why does it work here? Why does it work for you? Whereas it doesn't fucking work for literally so many people that I've seen or even in my own experience.
That's right.
So it's like, I think it also just depends too on like where you live and like what you have accessible to you.
Right.
But I think it's also confusing because we live in a first world country where we have fucking everything.
Yeah.
We literally have everything, you know? So it's just something to kind of think about, like, in terms of like obviously doing your own research and adapting to what you have accessible to you and what you can work with.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're someone that needs to eat meat and you don't react to it badly here in some capacity, then like eat it by all means. But if you don't think there's anything wrong with you and just try to come off of it, but then maybe when you travel, try to eat it, you'll probably feel fine.
Exactly.
Just like because again, our bodies we're literally evolutionary beings. We're supposed to always change. Your body's literally changing all the time, but it does change very drastically in like intervals of your life.
And all of a sudden too much of the same thing over and over again isn't good.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be okay. And it's like, just because of this period in your life it was okay for you, listen to your body. If all of a sudden you're getting these rashes or something, you got to change up your diet or your program or your routine or your breath work or whatever the fuck.
Well, I always say anything that's coming up in your skin and their face is like a result of what's happening inside of your body.
Always. And
having the wrong foods in our body does develop a certain sense of like you're not able to manage stress as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're not sleeping or your digestion's off. Now your gut health is off. Yeah. And how the fuck do you think properly? How can you be balanced in your mindset?
Yeah.
You know, and people like go, well, I'm fucking weak. I keep obsessing about this certain thing. It's like, well, maybe if you actually switch things around what you're putting in your body, you might be able to think around and navigate yourself around whatever issues come in your way.
Oh, yes.
When I have a heavy metal detox smoothie, I'm not kidding, I was like massive headache, just losing it. I was like, my mom made one for me, brought it down. It was gone.
Yeah.
The moment that I had it, instantly. And it's like, you know what's right for your body and what's not. You just do.
Yeah.
And it's like, you gotta lean into something else to change it up.
Which is why you trust your intuition.
Yeah.
Trust what your body's saying.
I know what I wanted to say. the body's best, it's the manual to life. So it's going to talk to you. And if all of a sudden you're not doing well or you have that headache, it's screaming out to tell you that it needs something.
Yeah.
Always.
And it's
And
not,
don't wait.
it's not the Advil and the Tylenol
No.
all the time.
That's the bypasser.
Yes, it's the bypasser. You want to really, especially during this time too, right now of like the theme of what we've been talking about as well. Like it's always this like we reach for what everyone else is doing or saying, and like you could be taking advice from the best people, but what they're saying might not even resonate with you either.
Totally.
And that's fine.
And that's perfect.
But it's again, switching and pivoting, right?
Yeah.
And taking your power back and your energy back from certain situations. And I think a lot of people are starting to like go through that subconsciously or consciously, and I think it's fucking with people a lot too. Like even I think a very common thing that we haven't talked about publicly, but the healthcare system, like and what we're told that we need to be taking in certain parts of our lives, like whether you're sick or if you're pregnant or if you're going through this or you're going through that. It's like there's a remedy for everything, but like, okay, what do you want to do?
Right.
And I feel like there's so much right now is when people are trying to question, like, hey, that's not working for me. Like, I don't like that. Like, it's making me feel like shit. Like, you know, and that's been something that's been going on for years, but I think people have been suffering silently about it. And now people are starting to...
It's their normal.
Yeah.
Normal.
And now people are kind of being like, okay, well, if I don't listen to the doctor, or I don't listen to this professional or that person, then what am I supposed to do? You listen to yourself.
Yeah.
We all got the answers. Go within, man.
We all have answers. We all have the answers, and don't feel like you just don't. Like, I mean, just thinking about my couple clients that I've had this week, and they're pregnant, and they're actually second and third child in type of thing, and I'm just like listening to how they feel and how worried and scared that they are, and I'm like, I mean, I don't know from experience, but I'm kind of like, I hate that this is the way that you feel about such a sacred experience because so-and-so told you this. No. It's like, oh, your baby's underweight, or your baby's turned like this, or like whatever. And it's like, okay, where did the trust of ourselves go? But we hand all of this to everyone else.
Doctors even.
Doctors.
Like,
even our own moms, like that, how they went through things, and our aunties and stuff. They're like, oh, well, this is how. Like, no, just because this is how you went through it doesn't mean that this is how I'm going to go through it. But then we don't trust ourselves, and then we take it out on ourselves. When really, like, the process of fucking getting pregnant, going through pregnancy, and giving birth is such a monumental and spiritual, sacred experience that I'm like, I hate that other people perpetuate women to put with fear, and to like, and because then you're like, okay, this is, you know, then you're scared, and then you develop all these issues within your body, and now you develop all these kind of symptoms, and then maybe your baby doesn't come out right because you just have like scared yourself into this whole thing, when really like we've been doing this for fucking ever.
Animals do it. It's really every day.
So the theme goes, because like you work with a lot of people that, you know, obviously want to shed the things that are holding them down in life and all the things, but to go back with the mortality, immortality, and there was a study that just came out recently that between like 2021 and 2022, the infant mortality and the death of the mother went up 40%.
Because you're going to the doctor. Yeah, because you're going through the medical system.
Yeah, because I think it's more or less like taking on beliefs that are not suitable to the person that's receiving the information. We take it we stick our knife so far in the sand that that's truth. Yeah. And then it develops such a fear in our body, and we're like, actually, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Fucking check it out.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And we don't have to buy into this dialogue. We don't have to buy into these beliefs, because I mean, a doctor's, you know, a person that took schooling
and got a course out of a book.
Yeah, and it obviously it takes years, and I don't ever want to discount that, because there's always room for doctors.
Always.
Yes,
always.
Always.
But I mean, we can't just take that one person's opinion to heart. No. I think it's important to like go in, use our discernment, maybe do your own research.
Oh,
Yes.
Into what other people are sharing. I mean,
Yes.
everybody's sharing right now. We got
Yes.
fucking internet full of stories.
I know.
And
Yes.
it's not to scare us. It's just to kind of, you know, come back around full circle and just get a little bit more in touch with our intuition. Does it resonate with you? Does it not resonate with you? Don't feel weird if it doesn't. Yeah, we're all fucking rebels. Like, God, we're kind of forced to be in this day and age. Like, we're kind of...
That's why we came here.
Yeah, like
we didn't come.
We're the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
This is it. So we're just redefining these fucking stories and these
Question
lies.
everything.
Yeah.
Question. You know, it's
Stay curious.
Yeah.
Stay curious.
Yeah.
question.
We don't
There
need
is
to
no
be too
black or
stressed out
white,
about
just
this.
in a box. Zoom out and fucking there is no box.
Yeah.
You're a unique badass and keep being a unique badass.
Yeah.
And be weird. We're here to be weird. I pulled that card.
We're
It's like,
embracing our weird right
be
now.
weird and be different, and that's the coolest part.
The best thing about you is that you're you. That's literally your superpower. Like, it doesn't, you don't have to be like fucking everyone else. Like, people, I don't know, like, people are always like, oh, you have such a great life. Like, you think it's fucking great to be listening to people's fucking problems all the time and like trying your best to help them. And like, cause I think especially with my work too, I'm like, yeah, I get fucking information, but also I think what makes me great at my work is that I'm also very human and understanding, and I try to build that bridge with you to help you understand how to utilize information to your advantage. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of knowing just to know?
Yeah.
And
Like,
not
you
take any action.
That's perfect.
Like, you just want to
So
sit there and be like, oh,
I know.
I'm a know-it-all.
Now
Okay,
I know.
cool. Okay,
Now
cool.
I know.
And then what? So you just sit there and you're like, okay.
Now I know what's the potential for me, but I'm not doing nothing about it.
Oh, I just know. I'm like, okay, and then? Like,
And then what?
do something with it, right?
How's that working for you?
Like, the whole point of knowing is to use it to your advantage so that you could either prepare for something. And I think this is like really important too when it comes to like seeking guidance, or, you know, whether you're using cards or you're going to see someone or you're booking an appointment with a healer or whatever you want to call it, like anything.
Energy, whatever.
When you're, it's like you have to, I lost my train of thought.
Making sure you're being careful who you're seeking guidance from. Like,
I don't think that's what she was going to say.
Yeah, well, that's what I think it's like where are you going to ask your questions? Because we did talk about how...
Or knowing. She was talking about the knowing.
Utilizing information to...
doing something about it.
So, for example, my beautiful client, she came to me a few months ago. We did a virtual reading. And I told her, I'm like, hey, so this coming month, you're going to... What I'm seeing for you is you're going to have some financial problems. Like, there's going to be unexpected bills that come up, blah, 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 all these things. And so like, instead of just like taking that and being like, fuck, and like just like feeling like shit about it, which is like, I think can very much happen to people.
True.
She was like, fuck that. And she just switched her mindset to just get grinding on things.
Wow.
So then she like started to book all these people. She just, the moment she switched, her bookings filled up. She started all of a sudden like booking a bunch of students for her nail course, doing all these things. And so she messaged me and she was like, the thing about your readings, and she's gone through a few readings with me already, but she's like, the thing about your readings, not only are they fucking accurate, but it's the fact that when you hear something you don't want to hear, you have the power to change it. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, the future is not fixed.
No.
It doesn't have to be the way that someone says. And again, when you listen to me like that, you might give your power away to me being like, oh fuck, like, okay, Nikki said I'm not going to have a good month this month financially, so I'm just not going to have a good month.
No,
we don't want that. We want you to take whatever you learned and heard and use it to your advantage.
I love that.
Because again, like what I was saying earlier before I lost my train of thought, is what's the point of knowing just to know?
Yeah.
Like, you're knowing, like, first of all, going to see a healer, going to see a reader is something to give you a life hack or cheat in some way. And then you can use that to help you. So even if what you're hearing maybe isn't what you want to hear, okay, well then you can just like
bring awareness
around it. And then when something might happen, then you're like not like necessarily prepared and like trauma fearing preparing, but also you're just like, okay, that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know? Or like, oh, like there might be this other thing that's going to happen. Okay, well, maybe I'll just put this thing in place so it's not going to happen maybe that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get it's like a offering, a little tool. And then, like, I love that you're saying this. It's perfect what people need to hear, because you can change your trajectory. And it's even like your thought. You can be so laser focused on a shitty thought forever, and you just grinding yourself in that hole.
Yeah.
You got to get yourself out of that, and
you're one decision away from changing the trajectory of your life.
Oh God, yes.
Right.
And I think also
one choice.
Hopefully, like, well, I'm sure whoever is meant to hear this will hear this, but you know, I was just talking to someone very close to me earlier today, and it was just interesting because it's one of these situations, not to go too deep into it, but it's like a dream, I guess, that this person had, and then me seeing it for what it was, but a lot of like reality wasn't necessarily shifting in that direction yet. Okay. And it was just, you know, starting to rub on the patience part of people, right? So for my friend, so we're talking about it, and it's interesting because the thing that my friend's doing is something that I very much believe in as well. So I've been kind of like, in a way where it's kind of like, I guess, coaching, but like just being there for him and being like, hey, you know, like, start to just live it. Like, whatever it is that you're trying to do, this project, just like, don't think of it as like it's in motion. Yeah. Just live it, just embody it. Because in my mind, especially when I read for people, I see it already being there. That's why like I'm sitting there being like, you can do it, you can do it. I'm not just trying to, I'm not trying to make you feel good. Trust me, I'm really not. I'm just telling you exactly what I'm seeing, you know? And it's like, okay, well, if I see it, like, I just want you to see it, so I believe in it for you, but now you have to believe in it. Yeah. So then he started to actually kind of do that, and literally he got a call today, and it, like, one of the things basically happened for him, right? And I was like, this is what it is. Like, you just, right now especially, is because we're in a time of recreation and creation, fuck whatever your fucking mind is trying to tell you, okay? Because none of it's going to make sense to you. Logically, analytically, which is where our minds usually go, it's not going to make sense to you. This is a intuitive emotional experience. And if you can tap into that part of things and just utilize that, okay, what do you want? I want this. Before your logical brain's like, you can't do that. I want this. Okay, then just fucking run with that.
Yes.
Just
stay with
that.
Don't
worry about the how.
Yes.
How to get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like you put it in. I get that. It's like Dolores Cannon about how we're here. Once you can learn how to create something. So Nicky sees that, and then it's like you got to take each step to grab that because it's in the quantum field. It's there, ready to be birthed, but anybody can grab onto it. So if you want to be the one to grab onto it, you need to take the action steps without the fear to grab it. And it's like making that be birthed. It's like the vision. I totally get that. I love it.
And fear is logical and analytical. That's debatable, but it actually is more so in logical and analytics, because we are programmed to believe that fear is a part of everything.
And we can drop that belief.
Again, going back to like, don't give your power away to fucking anyone. No. Even like when you come see me or like doctors or whatever, like fuck whatever. Don't give your power away. Question everything. Yeah. Yes. Right? And then do it. You have a choice. The whole human experience is about making choices. Like future stuff, whatever. Like the future's not fixed. We really see as good intuitives is fucking timelines. Yeah. And we pull the one that you're literally most aligned to right in that moment when you see us. And then you have to fill in the blanks. Like, I wish I could just do it for you.
Yeah, but that's not fucking Earth.
No, yeah,
that's not Earth school.
But it's not. It's like, it's you have to make the choices, and you have to question, and you have to discern, and that's the whole part of the human experience. And if you knew what the fucking story was at the end of the book, then what's the joy of even the book?
Yeah, right? Journey.
Yeah, like it's like we feel
you
like
may as well just die now.
Yeah,
dude. The fun is the journey. It's the path. The pathway to peace.
Pathway to peace.
That's the fun.
Yes.
Because it's the unknown. Like it's exciting for me to be like, oh my gosh, like when is my superior man coming in, and who the fuck is it going to be? That's exciting. I don't know, but it's exciting because it's there. Happen.
Yes.
So it's in the quantum fucking field.
And of course, like you have times too where you're probably like maybe not feeling that motivated and happy about it, right? And you have.
Where I'm like fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like time is up.
Like or you might be sad or something like that too, right? But it's like, okay, but we need those experiences.
Yeah.
Like, we just need those experiences. Yeah, like, I don't want to fucking feel like shit either. I don't want to feel like this either. Like, of course we don't want to feel like this, but
when you're feeling it, feeling's the healing. Like, you kind of got to go through
Can't bypass it.
and thank God that we are able to feel.
Yeah.
True.
So,
Well, I think, isn't it like if we're talking about extraterrestrial, that they're the most jealous of the human life because we actually the only ones that have feeling and emotion.
Yes.
And that we kind of have these ebbs and flows, and we're so stuck in this human experience we forget that this is actually a gift.
The part about experiencing having sex, eating food, like touching somebody, hugging, because spirit realm, they feel love and free and euphoric, and they can create anything that they want. They want to see a mansion, they just like, let's create a mansion.
Yeah,
they can do all that. But they can't go and have sex with somebody. They can't go and like drink water and be like, this is really tasty.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they're like, fuck it, I'll go down to Earth School, make this plan, and
so let's
go experience.
So feel the feels. Yeah, so it's easy to
That's why
use
some
all
people are
these
sex addicts when they come here.
Well, no, but this is it. No, but
here
here we are. This is the other end of the spectrum where we get too tied into the things that make us feel good. And then we come to the science aspect of it. It's like the dopamine drips constantly, and how that affects the mind and affects the behavior and blah, 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 blah. It's a vicious cycle. But to live like a more balanced life is like, careful what we're putting in our bodies.
Yeah.
Are we having time with solitude? Are we getting time into nature? Are we drinking and hydrating for our body? Are we getting adequate sleep? These are
the five people you're hanging around with.
Yeah, your influence. So these are that's the solid foundation you can base, the starting point off of, and just trust in the process along the way.
Yeah.
And, once you graduate from that point, then you get to a story like yours. It's like, okay, I've exhausted all of the needs that I feel like I could do here. Like, I don't think I'm
time
really...
to expand.
Yeah, I think it's time to kind of...
And are you coming to the circles every month? Are you coming and doing sound baths? Are you working out?
Yeah. Community is something that is also very on par with the current, and for the next, I would say, a couple years, is community is going to be very, very important. Going back to what you were saying earlier, it's like, shedding, or like just kind of creating, what I would say is like, we're creating space. Like, you gotta let go of the things we don't like to let go of things. This is the fucking problem with all of us. We don't like to let go of things, but really it's like,
let it go.
Every single time you guys let go of something, look what happens. It gets filled up with something else that's way better anyways. It's happened time and time again. Why the fuck don't we trust that? But we just don't.
Okay, thank you for saying that, because I've got my grad dress still sitting up there. I'm like, I don't need this thing anymore.
No.
Maybe I can fucking shed that.
That's like me and those stupid fucking jeans.
Yes, the jeans that are for Charlie, they're in my car.
Oh, right. Yes.
Oh, God,
okay, so I want to talk about real quick, just tap into that part of the conversation, is
I couldn't wait any longer.
is letting go of things, that they leave a mark in your body and your soul. So you take that out, and there's like this hole there.
Yeah.
So how important it is to fill that hole with something that's more meaningful. Because if you leave it open, then it kind of leaves you a bit vulnerable in that area, and then it can just be filled with something that like a fucking energy vampire or something that can actually be detrimental to your health.
Yeah, or a bad habit. Or an immediate sense of satisfaction.
Yes.
Which is also what we kind of we opened up with a little bit too. It's like just the instant gratification of everything.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
all the time. Like,
short circuit. No, that's so accurate though. If we talk about the theme, I think it's just, maybe going back to the basics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always.
Right.
Always. Like, going back to the basics and starting from there.
Yeah.
It's a good kind of starting point to see like what's working, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people, it's like an analogy is coming up to my mind now that I also have used with clients, is like, you're a glass and you've been smashed.
Oh.
And now the pieces are everywhere. And it's fucking complicated to kind of pick up those pieces. And as you pick up the pieces and sweep them up and use your fingers and everything, you get cut up. So those are the things that like you want to keep in your life, whether it's the relationship, the friends, the experiences, whatever it is, and then but they cut you. But you sit there bleeding and you're like trying to put it in the pile that you want to keep.
It's okay.
Yeah, like you want to keep it, right? But it's like hurting you. Okay, well, just let yourself go through the process of sorting kind of thing. But then we're just so focused on how the glass broke. You know, we're actually hanging on to the pieces because we're just upset that it's not how it used to be.
You got it.
But really, like, and I say this to a few of my clients before they've heard this, and if you guys watch this, this Japanese saying that, like, because you know how in Asian culture, like, there's a lot of pottery and like a lot of china and like that kind of thing, right? And so, especially with Japanese, like, they're very skilled in what they do, the masters at their craft. And when something breaks, it's like, okay, but it took so fucking long to like create this beautiful piece of art. So why don't we just like put it back together in the way that we can salvage it? And then they started to paint gold paint on the cracks to just like seal it and make it beautiful in its own way.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's not gonna be the way it used to be, but that's not life. Yeah. Like shit happens, things break, but doesn't mean that we don't find beauty in the broken things. Because just because they're broken to one person or how they are to you doesn't mean that they're broken forever or that's how people see it.
Don't you think that's how we like identify ourselves? Like basically talking of
My goodness, yes. Like, and I just think about this girl that I met in Colombia and she was my massage therapist. And I noticed, like, when I was talking to her, she wouldn't look at me in the face. Like, she would just always look down and stuff. And, like, I just didn't really know why. But I always thought she was very beautiful. Although she's so naturally beautiful. Like, she's so, just everything about her. Like, I just really like her. And then I noticed that she had, like, a scar here on her lip. Like, something happened to her, I guess, right? And so that's why she wasn't looking at me in the eye when she was talking to me and stuff, because she was so focused on this. But I literally, like, didn't notice until I noticed. And when I noticed it, I was like, but that's what makes you so beautiful, though. Yeah. Like, if you just look like, if you didn't have that, maybe I would think you look like everyone else or something. But obviously something stood out to me, but I just didn't see it that way because I wasn't focused on that one thing. I was focused on just everything about you. And that's like the thing is like she was so focused, I guess, and subconsciously in her own mind, maybe that it was broken. She didn't look like a doll like everyone else that she wants to look like or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And she just like was so focused on this one little thing that was, and I'm sure in her mind it's like everything. But to me, I'm like, that's literally what makes you so beautiful.
Okay, here we go back to the topic of what's distracting you from the reality. Mm-hmm. We're so focused on the things that are stressing us out, that aren't going right.
Or that are bad about even within ourselves. Totally. Our body, the cellulite.
It's all a distraction. And when we are so focused on those things, it really takes away from that creative mind, that energy of the self-discovery and like staying curious. That curiosity, that takes curiosity out completely. And then you go down into the trenches about, you know, the worry and creating a reality that is not fucking true. Yeah. You're telling yourself these things that are not true. Mm-hmm. So if we stay focused in an energy that's not lifting us up, it's going to be bringing us down. And I say this to my kids, even my husband, like learning how to navigate into like new energies, new relationships, is if your relationships around you are not lifting you up, they're fucking bringing you down. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, that's the 5 people. Who are the 5 people you hang out with?
Yeah. Sure, maybe it's less. Maybe it's less than 5. Yeah. Like
maybe it's 3.
Or who you talk to on the phone, for example. Like all of that. Don't ever forget that your interactions and how your energy shifts doesn't just stop at the physicality of who you spend your time with.
It's like, a ripple effect, man.
Oh God, yeah. Like social media, fucking texting.
Who you follow. Like that's the biggest thing for me. I do not follow things that are not positive.
Oh God, no.
Or something that makes me, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
oh God, I went through a huge purge yesterday. Yeah. Where I like I was like, I don't know what it was. It was something just like, just fucking do this. And I like went through it and I was like, why haven't I unfollowed this person
for that long?
And then I realized I was like, because I was worried about them feeling bad.
Yeah.
Like,
this
person's never gonna book with me. It's on my business page.
It's a business.
Yeah, no, this person's never gonna book with me. I don't care what's going on in their lives. I literally haven't talked to this person in fucking 15 years. Oh, care fucking less. But for some reason, I even noticed I muted them instead of like deleting them kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Where I was like, no. And I fucking deleted over like 150 people yesterday.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize it. I was like,
making room for
Yeah.
I actually do that on my social media, like on a regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even do it like on my personal and our business, where it's like
If there's no energetic exchange,
if there's
we
nothing,
don't do it.
well, there's
Oh,
no
they're
alignment.
not
Like
following
sometimes
back.
it's just like, you know, like this is business. Like we're taking care of our shit, like with business mindset, and we
Yeah.
should kind of do that with our lives too.
For
We
sure.
our lives are just so like intertwined with our emotions, and our emotions
Yeah.
can kind of dictate where we're going, and you know, and the end of it
Yeah.
all. But it really shouldn't. If we could just set our crazy aside for a second and just think maybe logically, or maybe gain a little bit of sense of what the reality is actually.
Yes.
What is it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This is
Amazing.
amazing. I know. This is so good.
And I was like, oh, we'll be able to do this in under an hour. No, we're at an hour 19.
Almost 120.
Well, we should probably
Wrap her up.
start
Yeah.
wrapping it up.
Yeah,
Maybe
we gotta
we'll
get
do-
to our circle.
We got our
Yeah,
circle
we
jerk,
gotta-
and
Yeah.
we're so excited for this.
Yes, I'm very excited.
So exciting. Okay, that neon shirt is next level. Nikki's shirt is next level. Raw
Okay.
Babes, Sacred Soul.
Buddy! Kate just started her new.
Well,
Come on, are we talking about this now? This is.
this is the it's the business, the healing business, Sacred Soul Healing, sound baths, all the things.
All the
but
things!
No. Tiffany, you're awesome. Okay, so I wanted to say Tiffany's Raw Babes Neon. We have our swag now, next level swag, and I was literally gonna wear the neon today. And she rolls up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that looks good!" So don't forget, if you guys want any pieces of clothing, to hit us up, because we've got lots of choices.
They're very comfortable and they're
Yeah.
very cozy and warm and like just nice. This is just like my
It's
my
so good.
style though.
It
Yes.
is the comfort.
Yeah, the
It's
comfort,
good.
The comfort.
and they come in beautiful colors and
Yes.
nice sets and just
It's good.
We're
Love it.
so excited.
On our ending, is there anything else that you would like anybody to know about you, about your services?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess like if you want to book with me.
Yes, of
If you want to book
course.
a reading with me, just hit me up on my social media on Instagram or
By
on
the actual link, though, there's a link above the messaging. It says
book a
link,
reading.
Book a reading.
Yes,
So click
book
that.
a
She's got a
reading.
beautiful website.
I love
Don't
also
press
offering-
message
Yeah.
and ask how to book a reading.
We'll
She's
put
got
you on
beautiful-
blast, low key, if you do. If you want to book a reading with me, I do them. If I'm in town, I'll do them in person. But generally, I do everything virtually. You get a recording from that as well. But we get to interact live. I tell you things that I pick up for you, but you also can have the option of asking questions and let it all out on the table.
And also loved ones come through.
Yes, we do. So it's hard to put into words like what it is that I do and like putting in kind of everything. But
I know.
anything to do with like past, present, future, past lives, spiritual team, past over loved ones. Nothing's a guarantee, but a lot of these things do come through and serve during sessions.
Which I will actually say, Dar had his past life reading with Nikki. It was insane, and just through that, him and I got so much clarity on this lifetime to be able to understand what had happened, and even from past lives and how things transpired and why they had transpired. And like, he was so grateful, and just like it changed his life. He was just like, it was just it was very powerful.
It's helped bridges the gap for a lot of people.
It really does.
Yes.
And gives when you're in that funk and you just don't know which way you want to go, or you feel like you don't have a future, it serves such a beautiful purpose. It can be that little sparkle, or that like
Hope.
or like, okay, I am going to be okay.
Yeah.
Or like, maybe even it's like, is there a soul, like to be able to bring a soul in and to have a baby? Like, there's so many different roads that you can then help somebody say, hey, if you do this, this, and this. A lot of the times the souls aren't going to come into this vessel if it's on a low frequency. So once you do your healing, the soul's like, yay, finally you figured out this shit. Or they're like, I ain't coming in with a mom and dad that are fighting like that. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just beautiful ways of receiving.
And understanding, I think. I think the one thing that people are always trying to figure out is just to understand something. Because I think once you understand something, at least to a certain degree, you're able to just feel more confident in whatever you need to be doing, or you feel, that like hope. And I think that's like a huge, or you just have faith in something, like you believe in something. Even if it's not like, it doesn't have to be something outside of you, but just even believing in yourself.
Ugh.
Especially because I find that like the readings too, it's like, we just know, like you yourself know, but we just, again, get so caught up in all the shit, right? Yeah, it's like all a validation, I think, especially because I don't know you. I don't know anything as to who you are, what you look like, what you sound like. I read everything 10 minutes prior to actually seeing your face online. And I think that just gives that validation and like almost a shock factor.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can just start to bridge the gap of like whatever it is that you're trying to figure out. Because again, like I think there's a stigma for readers, it's like, oh, what if she tells me something that I don't want to hear? Or like, what if she tells me something bad? Or like, whatever.
Oh, she's gonna tell my truth. Oh, my skeletons. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are my
like,
skeletons.
Yeah.
Right?
But something will come through that you're not ready to receive.
That's the thing too, right? And like just really understanding too, like, yeah, I can tell you some stuff, but I also handle myself with a high sense of integrity, but I will also understand to a certain degree, or at least help you understand to a certain degree, how to navigate through the reading. And I think that's a main part that isn't always done, I think, maybe with other people. But it's just like, okay, how do we utilize this? Or if like I tell you something and you're like, I don't want that, then okay, well, let's just explore this other thing then.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's more manageable for you.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, if anyone wants to book with me, definitely check me out on my social media, my website. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to reach out and let me know. But I definitely do your research first. Try not to, when I want to work with someone, I kind of look into them a little bit and go through their website, go through their page.
And feel your feelings with them.
Yeah, and feel it through. Like I'm very, very picky personally, but do that. Like it's not just like this joke fun thing. Like this is like life-changing fucking serious shit, and like there are people that you can just get like a little fun thing out of, but that's just not me. So also just like find the right practitioner. Always do your due diligence. Energy works on a joke, psychic works on a joke. And yeah, I would say
amazing.
We'll have all the things and how to get a hold of you.
Yeah,
in our show
at
notes.
Sixth Sense is Nikki's business, and she's literally the
Quick
Sixth
link
Sense.
away. Quick
So,
lick away.
thanks for tuning in. All of the love. Our next circle is tonight, but June. Fuck. I was like, I wrote this June 4th.
June 4th. Thank you. Yeah.
June 4th, 7:45, 9:45. Sign up. And yeah, we have much to do. So
Yes.
we will see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye.
bye.